So our next guest is someone I'm really looking forward to talking to, and a story that has been in this recent Farmers Weekly. As we've heard in many serious country, it's about this flow-on effect, the consequences of this lockdown. And for many, it's been that thrust that they needed forward. And the COVID-19 lockdown for not only just fresh fruit and fresh vegetables and fruit being given away to charity due to the lack of outlets, it was also flowers. And earlier this year, flower growers faced a grim future with the 3 weekly flower auctions put to a halt and many outlets unable to open for sale. But a move quickly online into virtual auctioneering was an absolute stellar lifeline for the sector. And Tony Hayes, the Chief Executive of United Flower Growers, joins us now on Serious Country. Welcome to the show, Tony. Firstly, a fantastic idea. Is this something that was in the pipeline anyway? COVID just brought things to a head?
Firstly, Sarah, thanks for inviting me on tonight. I'm pleased to be with you. It's a great question, and what I can honestly say is that a few years back, probably 4 to 5 years ago, our cloud auction, or as it was back then, was pretty much an organic enhancement to what we already had, which was our physical auction. So it sort of sat to the left-hand side of the physical auctions that we have and operate. So at that time, pre-COVID, it was a choice factor for our buyers. Anyone who bought with us or bought through our company were able to choose between online and our physical sites. But back then, probably the bulk of our buyers chose naturally because it was what they always had done. They chose to come to site for all the obvious reasons: the touch, the smell, the ambience of a flower market, and they could see what they could buy. But at that time, no one ever planned for or foresaw what was going to happen a few years later.
So what was it like for the buyers to be able to wrap their head around it? Was there some strategies that they had to try and adapt when those senses, like you just said, were such a huge part of the buying process for them?
Well, there's a number of important factors. Firstly, it was an adjustment for the entire market. For us too, we are the providers of that industry platform. And whilst it was designed to be an online facility for buyers to choose to buy from, it had never been tested with 100% of our buyers nationwide online. We never foresaw that there would be a circumstance where that would need to happen. So it was a rush to the line when it had to happen. So it was an adjustment overnight. So for all of us in the industry, it was an immediate pivot, and we had to do it with speed. So for us, in terms of getting the technical ability of the system to be able to manage that loading nationally with all of our buyers across the country online at any one time, that was a significant hurdle. But it was also a hurdle for our buyers that buy online too, because 20% of them would have been buying online prior to COVID. So therefore, 80% of them probably had never used that system before. So it's an immediate learning curve. But unfortunately, as played out, there was literally no choice. We had to pivot. We had to make that adjustment.
And I mean, this is an industry that employs 10,000 people, and the disruption would have been significant. How have the growers been able to adjust their business to come out the other side?
Well, it's fair to say at the beginning, when we were in level 4, for many, there was a huge amount of disruption. We saw on the media at that time, there were growers that lost product literally overnight, and there were many others that gave product away to the public as a goodwill gesture, simply because there was no market in which to sell it to. So for them, it's been a period of recovery, and I think that's fair to say across the country, both north all the way down south. Every grower has been individual with the way they've been impacted, and they've all been working hard to try and repair what was damaged at the time in terms of lost product, because ultimately going forward, supply needs to adjust itself back up to what we need it to be. And at the moment, supply to the market is slightly behind where it would be at this time of year, and that's pretty much as an outcome of what we saw back in April. So we're still finding our way through it now, as are the growers, as are the buyers.
There's a lot of things, as I've said, that can be positive to stay forward with us into the new normal. We're using all those classic words in this interview, aren't we? Pivot, normal, all the ones we're sick of. But I mean, the beauty of what you did was you enhanced on the Dutch auction and brought video to it, real-time video to the online selling process. We've seen this in the livestock industry. It came in because it had to, and it sort of petered back out, but utilised for some things and not all. Is this something the industry is actually saying can help with efficiencies of the buying process or anything like that? Or do you think it was just a thing for lockdown?
Well, the beauty of the system that we operated, both pre and post, is that we always had the live streaming ability. So it was always set up and built around that model of being able to see what's actually going on live. That's unique to New Zealand. I'm not aware of any other auction site around the world that does a live stream. So for us, it's a point of being unique. But in addition to that, we set that up, or that was set up with that pure idea around ensuring the buying experience online, wherever that buyer is located in the country, they have the same experience as if they would do if they were at a physical live auction. The only thing that's different between online and being on site is clearly the physically seeing the product live right in front of you, and the potential smell of the flowers too. But we've got around that, not so much the smell, because you can't do anything about that, but in terms of the actual physical seeing the product, we actually hold bunches of flowers or stems of flowers. The actual flowers themselves, we take them out of the buckets as we're selling them through the auction, and we pivot that head closer to the camera so that those online buyers can actually see the petals, the colour, and look at the quality of their heads. So the whole idea around that is so that the buying experience online is as close as we can make it to what all of those buyers see in our physical auctions. Testament to that is we still see 40% of our buyers now choosing, not forced, choosing to buy online, whereas pre-COVID it was somewhere between 15 and 20% of our buyers.
That's very encouraging. While I've got you here, Tony, I know there will be a lot of viewers and listeners that have just genuinely got an interest in maybe the similar challenges happening in the flower industry as in other parts of the primary sector. Firstly, labour shortage and the migrant workers not being able to come in. Is it affecting your industry?
It doesn't affect us. We are a service provider to both the growers. We sell product on their behalf to all of our buyers. So it doesn't affect us per se, but certainly I think with some of the growers, probably the more regional ones, that may rely on a little bit of assistance at peak season, that could probably be an issue to them. But I don't think it affects us as near as what it would do other primary sector industries, as we've seen or are seeing at the moment on the news.
And what about urban sprawl and the protection of soil? Because I know a lot of your growers are near Auckland.
I think urban sprawl, the biggest impact of that actually is the land effect on land and the demand on land from building developers. Because obviously you get developers that want primary land, particularly up here in Auckland. That puts pressure on growers, possibly to sell, and it's those same growers that we rely on, the market relies on to feed the product and supply through the network. So it's fair to say, I think, pressure in terms of real estate, land values, that's certainly got an effect for us over the next 5 or 10 years.
And of course, it would go without a doubt having you here. I mean, is it hard to choose from all of your children of a favourite type of flower that you've got a dear spot in your heart for, Tony? Or
I think it's a great way of putting it. There's actually we've just come out of New Zealand Flower Week, and there's a video that we put together. There's a number of videos in actual fact, but one of them is to do with a grower up here in Auckland, and he himself articulates his flowers as being his children, and sometimes at the weekends he'll wander through his shed, his glass house, to look at the mood of the flowers to see how his children are. And that's a fantastic way of putting it, because that's the love and respect that our growers, all of our growers, have for their product, because it's a living thing, and any disruption to the supply chain, both in terms of timing and weather, it has an immediate consequential impact to them. So for me, look, I'm an all-rounder, and that's not an easy get-out-of-jail type of response, but I am an all-rounder. I get the luxury, I have the luxury of seeing our auctions 3 times a week here in Auckland. Auckland is our biggest auction by a long way. So we have the biggest variation of range available up here. And when you actually walk in on an auction morning and see all of the flowers, all merchandise ready for sale at our auction, it just blows your mind away. You know, they always say that flowers has the ability to change moods, and that's true. It really, really does. And we get in, our team starts at 4:30 in the morning, ahead of our auction. And when you come in at that time in the morning, it's not the easiest time of the day to get up and go to work. But when you come in, you're actually inspired by what you see. It's just an incredible feeling and experience. And I get to do that three times a week. So for me, I'm a bit of an all-rounder. I love the products that we sell. I love the fact that we have seasons turning on and turning off. We've got some great products coming up for Christmas, which all of our buyers love and are all waiting for. So it's all to come. And we're in a great season now. It's Christmas. And we've got some good volumes coming through.
That was a very diplomatic answer, Tony. And so therefore all of your flower children will, not be feeling jealous. So well done. Thank you so much. And just you described that so beautifully. I just want to go to a flower market at 4:30 in the morning. Just the sensory experience of that sounds so amazing. Now that was Tony Hayes from United Flower Growers, following a story from Richard Rennie in this week's Farmers Weekly in the new Thinking section titled Success Blooms at Online Auctions. You can find it at farmersweekly.co.nz. This is Sarah's Country.